Well, hello everybody. Welcome back once again. We're at the live feed on Juju's PC Builds. Good to see everybody's making it in here slowly but surely. Took me a couple minutes to get it on the live stream. I don't know what's going on with YouTube, but I think YouTube's going a little bit crazy. Hello, player, machine. And I know MTBK is going to be in there and a bunch of others, so I'll wait for y'all to get in real quick as I'm diving in through the paperwork, seeing what's cooking like usual. There are some confusing things that did come about today, yesterday, and any other day. But what it's looking like is this. I want to take a look at the Ryzen 9000 CPU prices. I want to see what that's about. I want to talk about the little bit of price increase in the last couple weeks on graphics cards. And that's pretty much all graphics cards. Also, too, with Intel, don't know what's going on with Intel, but looks like they got something cooking, but it looks like they're not going to drop anything out until September. I'm hearing leaks and rumors about September that Intel is going to be really dropping the bomb on everybody with new CPUs and new GPUs as well. But I'm hoping that Computex, they drop something, because I don't see them having any live streams just of yet for Computex. So I don't know what's going on there. Maybe they're not doing anything this time. Maybe it's just going to be NVIDIA and AMD, which NVIDIA is going to be tomorrow morning, 4 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, California time, so you might want to look up your times around what time I got cooking. And also, too, at 6:30 p.m. my time again is going to be AMD. Looks like it somehow branched both of them into tomorrow, so tomorrow's going to definitely be a busy day. I could be wrong, but that's what I see the streams to be looking at. So this is where we're going to start. We're going to start with a little bit of a bombshell for y'all. A little bit of a bombshell for you. That the prices on certain graphics cards are going up. Like, I know y'all are going to argue with me about this, but I've seen it yesterday. I did price comparison yesterday. Because remember, at the almost halfway through the month, I did an update on the pricing. So at the end of May, it seems that the 7800 XT went up $110 at the end of May. You probably can find it cheaper, who knows? But from what I've seen just on Amazon alone, it went up $110. So I was doing other price comparison, and with some graphics cards, they're up like $1. Like your lower end graphics cards, they're only like up a couple bucks, not much. But that's just on the AMD side, because it looks like it's getting close to Computex and whatever AMD's got cooking, which we'll get to that in a moment for what they got cooking. The leaks and rumors before tomorrow. So we'll kind of update you a little bit on what's cooking for tomorrow. Maybe it might happen. We never know. So, but as far as NVIDIA, I looked at the 4070 Super. It kind of went up $60 from 2 weeks ago. So that might be something that, is a little bit of difference, but you can't really, and I want everybody to understand this, you really cannot blame, and hopefully y'all can hear me, but you can't really blame the manufacturers for the pricing. Now, I do understand that. Now, if they're being sold by third-party vendors on Amazon, okay, or by Amazon themselves, they have the right and reason to sell it at their own price, above the MSRP that either AMD, NVIDIA, or Intel says it is. They do have a right to, to sell it for a higher price on their site to make up for the cost of shipping and everything else. So you do got to keep that in mind. I mean, shipping doesn't come for free. They have to pay for the shipping regardless. And make sure y'all got your drink and snacks, by the way, because this is going to be a 1 to 2 hour kind of stream. So, but I wanted y'all to keep the overhead in mind, what they got to do, the employee cost, the shipping cost, the packing cost, and everything else. So this is why you're seeing some of the GPUs higher priced than normal, is because of all those little costs. So let me flip the Discord and see what they're doing. Okay, well, I'm going to click off Discord. And I'm going to keep it right here on the video. But anyway, I wanted y'all to be clear on that really quick, and a lot of people are talking about, and this I'm hearing too. I'm hearing the fact of everybody saying, should I wait or should I buy now? And I'm going to tell you, it's so close to the release of the next generations. I would wait, if you can, I would wait to buy anything. Because when they come out with new generations, like Intel's going to be coming out with Arrow Lake, you got AMD going to be coming out with the 9000 CPUs, you got NVIDIA coming out with a new CPU, we don't know when, but it's being created by MediaTek. And also, you got the 50 series graphics cards coming out, and they're going to be probably paper launched tomorrow. I say tomorrow because that's when it's going to happen, the live stream for tomorrow. So that means I got to get up by 2:30 in the morning, get all my stuff together, so that way I can be ready for the 4 a.m. stream, which I'm going to start a little bit early, just to let you know, probably about 15 minutes early, so that way we can get everything set and ready to go. So we're on page when it comes to 4 a.m. and they start and everything else. So do expect that to happen. We're going to be doing that. But coming to the fact, this is what's going to be cooking. You got Intel with Arrow Lake. That's going to be a launch. And they're going to be launching 800 series motherboards with Arrow Lake. And it looks like AMD is going to be cooking up with the motherboard manufacturers an 800 series motherboard for AMD. That was a leak that came out a couple days ago, and this is going to be interesting to see what kind of motherboard they're going to be coming up with. Some people are telling me that the system memory might go up to DDR6 instead of DDR5, and they keep the same socket. Some people are talking about that. Player says, I wouldn't be able to come to the stream. I go to bed when the stream starts. I understand that. I do understand, but this is their timing. But I do now understand when it comes to, doing these live events, you can go back, and I do record them onto YouTube, so you can play it back if you want to watch the whole event that we did here on YouTube. So you do have that option to go back and watch all the live videos that we've done, because I do record them and put them on YouTube, just to let you know. So you can comment on the video as well, so there's no, you're not losing anything out of the deal. So it's all good as usual. So now, let's talk about the 9000 series Zen 5s. Okay, now we're getting a lot of rumors about it, that the 9000 series is about coming out at the same price as the 7000 series. It's just rumors and leaks, but they're saying it's going to come out at that price. Oop, my footage. So, but we'll find out tomorrow night at about 6:30 p.m. My time, that is. But this is for Granite Ridge, and I pulled up some things for Granite Ridge, so let's go ahead and go to the action screen really quick. Okay, so what it's looking like, and this is from WCCF Tech, that the 9950, the Ryzen 9 9950X, is 16 core, 32 threads, up to 5.7 gigahertz, 64 megs of L3, 16 megs of L2, and that's the cache. Integrated graphics, it's going to be 2x RDNA 2. It's going to be RDNA 2x, I guess, and have 2 CUs. The memory support is going to be DDR5 5600, but I would imagine it can go up to 7400. And it's going to be, TDP is going to be 120 watts. And they're saying for $700. Isn't that $100 more? Or that would be wouldn't that be $100 more than the 7950X3D at the time for MSRP? That's a good question. I'm going to see if y'all answer that one. So there's a little homework for y'all to look up. And we got another Ryzen 9 9900X. It's got 5.6 gigahertz on the boost clock, 64 megs of L3. So it's 1 megahertz different, 100 megs difference. And the L2 is a little bit different. 4 meg difference on the L2. Whoopie-doo. Still everything's the same for $549. So, I don't know. Actually, it was supposed to be Ryzen AI 9 300 series, but they changed it. They changed it back, and it's supposed to be the Ryzen 9 9000 series. Yeah. Would be different if they did put R9, R9000 or 9000 series. Yeah, I agree with that. But now they got a Ryzen 7 9700X. That's 5.5 gigahertz on the boost, 32 megs of L3, 65 watt TDP for $400. That seems a little bit disappointing right there, because you can get an 8-core 16 thread, the 7800X 3D, for less price, more performance because it's got more cache than this processor here. It doesn't fly with me, guys. I mean, I don't know about you, but that really doesn't fly with me. So they think AI in the title increases sales or something. Well, think about it. If you take two graphics cards, right? Let's say they're just Asus graphics cards. You got an Asus Strix graphics card, and you got an Asus Strix ProArt graphics card. One is $100 less than the other one, but the platforms are the same. What are you paying for? You're paying for the name. That's basically what they're making their sales on. You're paying for the name, not performance. That was just an example. I'm not saying they have it or they don't have it or whatever. But the way it's been coming around for the last 3 months is they've been changing the name SKUs. So you've been paying the price for the name SKU. You're not paying the price for the performance. So yeah, I mean, I do agree with you 100%. Even if they put AI in the title, or they put some other name into the title, they think they can get another $100, skin you for another $100 out of that. Instead of you being able to save that $100 and put it into something else. So when you shop very carefully when it comes to the naming of products. To me, I'm going to be honest with you guys. To me, I don't see the point in paying for a name. I see the point in paying for the performance. I don't care what name is on the graphics card, because anybody can take a scratch pad, scratch off their name, and make it a totally blacked out GPU, and you would never know who it's from. All you would know is how it performs, what kind of FPS it gives you. You don't see the name then. So them trying to change the naming scheme and everything else doesn't help the consumer any. Doesn't tell them anything about the performance. Nothing. Nada. Strictly nothing. So that's where it drew a line with me when it come to the performance kind of thing. I was looking into that, and a lot of people were, a lot of my friends were agreeing with this. They're like, I didn't think exactly about that when we were benchmarking the GPU. We weren't looking at what the name was. If you take two identical GPUs, one with a different name, but they're totally, the PCB, the GPU processor, everything else is identical on that PCB. Everything's identical. But you get two different cases that have two different names on it. One's $100 more than the other one, but you get the same performance. Come on. This is the oldest trick in the book they've been doing ever since I was started in business. This is something they would do. They would take the single product, the same product, switch up the naming, and then push it out to the customer and say this is $100 more with the same amount of performance. This is why you always see reviewers say this is price to performance. This is what you're getting. The reason why they're saying that is for the simple fact they're showing you what you're paying for other than the name. But the problem with it is that when they sell these GPUs at a certain price, you can't price match. You can't get a direct price match from the competitors, is because, some with the performance wise, some are just way out of whack with the naming, and the prices are astronomical. So you got to put them in a different bracket. They're just making themselves look bad, truthfully. Because if you take a $400 GPU and you tell everybody it's $600, that puts it in the bracket of $600. So if it underperforms at $600, nobody's going to buy the GPU. So they're kind of cutting themselves off right there at the beginning. You can't sell somebody even a $200 GPU and try to sell it for $600. You might get curious enthusiasts that want to get it just for a novelty item to put on their shelf and say how bad it is and everything else. That's pretty much what they're going to say about it. How terrible it is in performance, and they're not going to recommend it. Look, I already had somebody bring a good point up to me. What's the difference if I'm running a GTX 1070 getting 85 FPS or running a 3060? I think a 1070 is 8 gigabytes of VRAM. I think that is. But just for say. And somebody running a 3060 with 12 gigabytes of VRAM. But the 1070 gets better performance than the 3060. You see the caveat to it? You got something that's 2 generations old compared to something that is, close to last generation, but underperforms for what it's supposed to do. This game has been going on for years. This is where they would take the GPU, the die off of the PCB, transplant it onto something else, and then call it a new name. I've seen a couple manufacturers long time ago do this, where they take the same die, scratch off the name, laser etch off the name, put a new name on it, and smooth it out and everything else. Change the firmware in it and sell it to you as a new and upgraded GPU. A new and upgraded GPU die. Some people caught on to that when China started to do that. The name would rub off very easy on the top of the GPU die. So it would have been, a misconcepted fake. And then they come out with GPU Z that would actually show you the true reading of the GPU die. That's another thing too. It would show you the actual trademark of that die and everything that's on it, even if they changed the firmware on it. Even if they tried to change the firmware on it, it's still going to show the actual. So, unless they found a way to trick that too. Now I'm finding out that they found a way to do that too. So what's expected at Computex, this is what a lot of people are saying. NVIDIA, they're expecting to see the 50 series NVIDIA, and also with NVIDIA cracking out with their new Blackwell series accelerator cards. And that's where, because they got that new microprocessor that nobody can copy. And this was on the news the other day. NVIDIA's got that new microprocessor that nobody can copy. Not even AMD or none of them. That splits between two GPU dies into one. It brings two GPU dies into one. And makes it twice as fast on the architecture and everything else. Now it seems that Microsoft, AMD, Intel, and a couple other companies are all getting together into a group to make that same processor so they can do the same thing that NVIDIA is doing, but even better. Hey, MTBK, good to see you. Yeah, I heard about that too. It definitely, yeah. GPU-Z did fail miserably on the GTX 970. Yeah, I do agree with that. But there are new and improved things on it since then. I've been kind of messing around with it a little bit more to see how true it is. Because I had a graphics card that had a fake firmware put onto it to make it believe that it's a GT 730 with 4 gigabytes of VRAM when it's actually a GT 730 with 1 gigabyte of VRAM. So, yeah. I tested out, GPU-Z. It gave me the true thing about that, so. Reviewers got tricked by this. Read the story. I was laughing so hard. Yeah, I know. Look. I read the story, I heard the rumors and everything else, but remember, there's not just GPU-Z that got tricked, HW Info got tricked as well. They're coming out with so many different ways to trick these GPUs. Okay, so many different ways that gets past the programs themselves. It's unbelievable. So it just makes me feel, when they do that, it just makes me feel that they're being more dishonest when they make their GPUs than anything. That's the reason why I stopped buying GPUs from China. Is because of the amount of dishonesty that was going on when it came to the GPUs. The discrete graphics cards that they were pouring out a ton of GT 730s, GTX 970s, and, but they were all carrying the 470 die. I think it was the 970. It was carrying the 470 die. I think it was. So, you can correct me on that, but I think it was. I think they were talking about the 470 or the 570. I think it was the 470 die. And they switched everything up. Oh, man. That was just so long ago, though. But what my concern... And this, I'm going to start off with NVIDIA for tomorrow. My concerns are the 590, the 5090, the RTX 5090, that they're cutting it back to 446-bit bus. If I'm right about that, yeah, I think it was a. Let me look this up really quick. Let's see. So we're looking it up right now. All that we know about it. Yeah, I mean, that site don't even know about it. That's sad. Everybody's saying that it come with a 512-bit bus, but that was cut. They had sent something out and said it was cut down to 446. Okay. That a new rumor came out. It's 446 or 448. So I'm trying to look and see where they would have that. Okay. Let's go back to the action screen, guys. Let me make this a little bit bigger for you all to see, because I know y'all are about as blind as I am. Let's make this a little bit bigger. Okay. This is on PC Games. It's a GB202. The CUDA core is supposed to be 24,576. They got TBC all the way down here. Boost clock supposed to be 2.9 gigahertz. Says it's supposed to be a 512-bit bus. And it's supposed to do 1.5 terabytes per second. You know, it's like 15,032 gigabits per second. It's supposed to have 120-bit L2. But they're not sure. They're not sure. I mean, but there are leaks that it's supposed to have a 448-bit. Okay. So, and it's supposed to be cut down from 36 gigabytes of VRAM to like, what was it, 28? You can correct me on this if I'm wrong. So yeah, I mean, it was supposed to be, yeah, there you go. MTBK, you got it right. It's supposed to be 28 gigabytes of VRAM at a 448-bit bus. Over the 336, 24 gigabyte of VRAM from the 4090. And it's supposed to have, what, 1.015 gigabits per second on the speed for the 4090. And this is supposed to give us like 500 or something like that more. That's what they said. Yeah, but Other rumors are having it, MTBK, that the 5090 is supposed to be cut down to 2 slots. You know, they were supposed to come out with the 6-slot monster, is what they were saying. And then it went to a 2-slot slimline 5090 that they were going to do the 2-slot cards. So if they do the 2-slot cards, then where are they going to put 3 PCBs in 2-slot card? Where are they going to put it? Not unless they make the PCB longer. You see what I'm doing? Longer. And make it 2 slots. That's what I'm thinking they're doing. They're making the card longer. Do you think they're going to do that? Leave your comments, guys. I mean, this is a hot moment. This is the hot moment before tomorrow to figure out what they're going to present us, and then we can think about what we talk about today. Player, if they stack it, it would have to be this thick. This thick. But they're streamlining it to 2 slots. Well, we'll know tomorrow. We'll know tomorrow at 4 a.m. You know, when I do the live feed, I'll be right there to look at it and say to myself, you know, wow. I'll be looking at it right there. It's going to be really a tough call for NVIDIA if they do it 2 slots, because you know the card's going to have to be longer. You think they're going to come out with the 4-fan graphics card to fit all those chips and everything else on it? Pseudoscientist, good to see you, man. So many rumors. How can we trust these numbers? Look, you could either, and like they always say, you could either take it like gold or a grain of salt. You could either take it 2 ways. You could either take it for what it's worth, or you can take it like a grain of salt. And me, I'll be honest with you, these are rumors and leaks about this. So, me right now, I'm like the regular consumer. Excuse me. I'm going to take it like a grain of salt. Because one moment they're saying, leaks over in Europe are saying a case about like this. A GPU case, 2 fans, like this. And now they're telling me that it's 2 slots and it's 2 fans. Only cards that you get 2 slot and 2 fans are your 16 gigabyte cards. Those are the only ones that I've seen that they have, like, or this right here. This is 12 gigabytes. This is 2 fans. This is 2 slots. Now, if they're going to do that 5090, I don't see how they're going to do it. Yeah, but the last time they made it thin was when they attached a water block to it to make it 2 slots. They attached a water block. MTBK says, just a bunch of liars. So not buy anything anymore? Or get blamed by people we don't like that we have bad chips. I'm going to say like this. Take it as a grain of salt right now. When tomorrow rolls around and you get the whole 900 yards, which comes right from the horse's mouth, from NVIDIA, then you can take it for what it's worth. But what I think is this. There's no way in hell that NVIDIA is going to make a card 77% faster on RT cores and 33% faster on rasterization compared from the 4090 to the 5090. You know they can't sell the 5090 to China. The 5080, they're making it special like the 4090D. So if the 5080 is going to be no more faster than the 4090 Dragon Edition, guess what's going to happen? You're not going to be able to overclock it. You're just going to be running on stock. And you're set on a slower pace. And you're only looking at between 5 and 7% faster. So I can't see where they're coming up with all these numbers. They say the MSRP is $100 higher. People are saying the MSRP is going to be $100 higher than the 4090 and so on. So like your 5090 is going to be $100 more MSRP. Like your 5080 is going to be $100 more. Instead of it being at $1,200, it's going to be at $1,300. They're saying each one of them is going to be $100 more. So if that's what you're wanting there, pseudoscientists, it's this. Everybody's talking about it. They're talking about that it's going to be $100 more than, the 40 series. So the 50 series, every one of them is going to be $100 higher. That's what they're saying. MTBK says, I hope so. Maybe 1700 watts passively cooled. Funny. Maybe. You never know. I mean, seriously, you never know. They could passively cool 1700 watts. But you think in your house, running at 110 volts, you're going to be able to pull 1700 watts? Nah. Your wall plug, you would have to have a dedicated circuit at 20 amps in order to play on your PC and still have 300 watts to spare on your wall plug. Come on. I mean, it's when people build their PCs, they're not going to go to, and if you go to that length to put a 60 amp circuit on dedicated onto next to your PC, then more power to you. I would never, ever, listen to, watch my lips, never, ever do that. If it can't handle the 1500 watts from the wall plug, that's as far as I'm going. I'm lucky to even get a little bit over 500 watts off of my PC right now. But for me to go to 1500 watts, that, I love my electric bill. Right now it's totally free. Well, no, $30, but $30 is $30. But that's per month, so I like to keep it right there. I don't like keeping my bill at about $600 a month. $600 a month just to run my PC? No. I'm sorry. That's not happening. Yes, I predicted paper launch, FOMO, much higher prices we pay like crypto. Yep. And also, too, pseudoscientist, crypto's coming back. So everybody beware that the people that are getting out now of crypto, other people that are getting into crypto, it's going to be coming back even stronger, especially with the AI boom as well. They're going to find a way to twist that AI chip on those GPUs to use it for crypto. So it's going to be a mass hysteria when we can't get GPUs no more, because they're all going to be bought up. And these companies are going to be backlogged so much on GPUs, they're not going to be able to get it to the consumer. It's going to be nuts. MTBK says, if performance per watt is better too, we will get more for our money. I don't worry about that. Well, I would worry about that, because hearing that NVIDIA is not going to hold up to the 36 gigabytes of VRAM on the 5090 and cut it down, 8 gigabytes, and sell it to you for $100 more? What are you getting then? What are you really getting then in performance? Think about the performance chart really quick about that. So, I'm not buying a 5000 series, so don't matter to me, pseudo-scientist says. Truthfully, I would like to get my hands on a 5070. I know I got the 4070 right here. I wouldn't mind tackling on the 5070 if they come out with it. But that's been up in the air too. One minute they say they're not making the 5070. Next minute they say they are making the 5070. I think that if they come out with the 5070, it's going to be the same price as the 4070. That's where my thought is. So, MTBK says 5090 at $16.99 and 28 gigabytes of VRAM seems to be a better deal compared to the 4090. So 4 more gigabytes of VRAM for $100 more is a better deal. Think about that. So you're paying $25 more for each gigabyte of VRAM. Is that a better deal? Especially when the chips are only was it? Let me remember. I think somebody said it to me. I think they said $16 a chip or something like that. Maybe less if you buy it by bulk. Pseudoscientist says, okay, do you think the 5070 will be better than the 4090 like the 40? The 4090 was equal to the 3090. I don't think there was a great comparison between the 3090 and the 4090 because of the architecture, the software itself. I don't think there was a good comparison whatsoever. It's because you look at the architecture that the 3090 is on, and then you, software wise, you look at the architecture, and now you look at the architecture that the 4090 is on right now, and they're totally two different things. There is a lot less on for the 3090 than there was the 4090. There is a lot more of an advantage to the 4090. Oh, the 4070 to the 3090. There's so much rumors about that. I can tell you this, a 4070 in comparisons to me was not equal, because you got to look at the 3090 having what, 24 gigabytes of VRAM compared to 12 gigabytes of VRAM. Architecture was different, kind of, but it gave a little bit of boost to the 4070 to try to keep up with the 3090, but not by much. Because if you look at the, what was it, the 6950 XT blew the 4070 out of the water, if you want to go just on rasterization alone. But when it comes to ray tracing, 6950 was left in the dirt. So it's kind of, you have to think about the architecture of the software, because the software gives the GPU its extra boost when it comes to FPS. Especially what they're doing now, Microsoft's doing now with, what is it, frame generation for all GPUs? It's kind of obvious. And that's on Windows 11. Let me catch up with you guys. Let me see. MTBK says, I bet they managed to double the 5070 transistor count, so it'll do a lot even compared to the 4090 and the 5080. I bet you it'd beat the 5080 Super. I bet you the 50, or not the 5080 Super, the 4080 Super. I bet you with the 5070, it'll have enough horsepower to beat the 4080 Super. I would love to see that happen. I bet you it will, because, people are going to be buying the 5070s. And if you wait long enough, you'll probably get a 5070 Super. And if you wait even longer, you might get a 5070 Ti Super. You see how that's rolling downhill? But that's staying in between a $600 and $800 bracket, if you want to stay in between $600 and $800. Now, if we're lucky, that the 5070 itself will come out between $450 and $500. If we're lucky. But we never know until time. But I'm hoping for a 5070. 70 series, I don't seem to have a problem with it. It seems to be pretty good on my books. So, but going for like a 5090, that's going to be like $1,700 to $1,800 maybe. You never know. It might go up to $2,000 because of the price of everything going on. But the good news is this, that the tariffs that are going to happen on China was canceled, so we don't have to worry about the prices being jacked up until 2025. But if the 5090 comes out in 2025, guess what's going to happen? Think about this. And leave your answer in the comments. You know what's going to happen if they raise the tariffs 15% on all computer products. What's going to happen? By 2025. I think they said May of 2025, something like that. So, something you guys might want to investigate a little bit. Let's see. MTBK says 4071% lows is better in Forza Horizon 1080p compared to the 3090 Ti, so sometimes the architecture improvements will help games a lot. Software wise, yes. If they're rated, see, because you got to understand the way NVIDIA makes their GPUs is they underrate their GPUs, so you get a certain level of performance. Their GPUs, if you unlock everything, you unlock the power and everything of the discrete graphics card of NVIDIA, it goes up a little bit higher than you think. You get a little bit more than you think. So I already had a friend of mine talk to me about that, and he said, yeah, it goes up a little bit higher. So I'm guessing no. Oh, pseudoscientist, what do you mean I'm guessing no? I'm reading back in case I missed something. Oh, about the 4070 and the 3090. That's a tough call. That's a tough call, especially when they're saying that the 48, the 3090 keeps up a little bit with the 4080 or the 4070 Ti Super. But as far as the 4070, I don't think the 3090 is going to beat the 4070. Maybe the 4070 Ti Super would be more or less in that category with the 3090. But also, too, like MTBK said, the 1% lows are better on the 4070 than the 3090 Ti. So you get better 1% lows. That's a good thing, though. At least you get less game stuttering, which I know that for a fact because I run one right there. I get no game stutter. That's the thing. That's the positive part of this. So, yeah, folks, please pay MSRP prices, but no scalper prices. Problem solved. Well, MTBK, if when they come out, and this is the way they're saying, if you don't get on the horse and get one right away, then what's going to happen is that the scalpers are going to buy them all up, and then you're going to be stuck on e-waste. I mean, eBay. You guys know what I mean. I always call it e-waste because that's all it is, But anyway, if you don't get on it like Amazon or you don't get Micro Center or something like that and get your one right away, what's going to happen is that the scalpers are going to buy them all up, jack up the prices, and say, here you go. And then you're going to watch like Amazon, Newegg, and all them sit around with their hands like this. They're going to be twiddling their thumbs. It's because they already made their money because they sold it to the scalpers. And they don't care after that point. Once they sell it to whoever, they don't care at that point. So keep that in mind. I'm starting to think the 70 series is the sweet spot. It is. Look at how many 70 series that... Now, understand this. Look at the 40 series. The 4070, the 4070 Ti, or let's do this again. 4070, 4070 Super, 4070 Ti, 4070 Ti Super, 4 variances, 2 different processors off of 4 variants. The 4070 and the 4070 Super and the 4070 Ti, 1 variant. Now, the 4070 Ti Super is on the next leg up onto the 4080. So that's your other 3 variants on that one chip. So think about it. The 4070 has 4 GPUs in that space. You're right, that is the sweet spot. And I've been saying that. I said that when I purchased my 4070, even before then. Before I got this right here. The 4070 is, the sweet spot of it all. So, pseudoscientist says shipping container prices up big time. Prices going up one way or another. Good point. That's because of that battle that's going on over in Europe with Israel and all, causing the shipping lanes to be blocked, and they got to go all the way around, costing them more money, which that's going to be put off onto the consumer. Good point. Good point. The 4060 is weak sauce. The low end could disappoint. Pseudoscientists, listen, the 4060 is not as bad as you think. There's a lot of people that use the 4060. It might be the low end, and it might be the crisp of the cream of the low end. But it's still, with the 7600 XT, between the 4060 and the 7600 XT, the difference is one's got 16 gigabytes and the other one's got 8 gigabytes. Unless you go to the 4060 Ti, 16 gigabytes, then, you know, you got your next step up and you got a full 16 gigabyte discrete graphics card. 4060 is, and a lot of people, and understand this, a lot of people have made a lot of videos over the 4060 and the performance it does. It still will get up above 60 FPS. And it will still stay in that bracket playing some, I'm not saying all high-end AAA games. It will play the games. If you balance out your display settings in your games right, then you should be able to play all games with the 4060. Just saying. Just saying. Hello, Max. Welcome to the stream. I have a 7800X3D, you say, with 850 watt power supply and 32 gigabytes of RAM. What is it? Monitor 4K, 120 hertz. I have the option of getting a 3090 and a 4070 for the same price at $550. I also have the option of taking a 4080 for $1,050. Why are you going to take a 4080 at $1,050 when you can get a 4080 Super for $999? That you need to think about. So if you can get a 4080 Super with at least 2 to 3 more percent more performance than the 4080 for $50 less, there you go. I mean, that little bit of performance means a lot when you're playing your games, so that's something to think about. Just giving you a leg up on that, because when I do graphics card nightmares every week, I look at all the graphics card prices. Not just what they show on each one of these sites. I go through PC Part Picker and look at all the prices on all the graphics cards I can. For the 40 series and for the 7000 series, the 6000 series, the 30 series on NVIDIA side, you know, stuff like that. So, MTBK says, container ships doing ultra slow streaming. Water resistance doesn't matter anymore at that speed. They just had to find ways to make the engine turbochargers smaller. Yeah. No, they just had to find another reason to screw the public, and that's pretty much what they're doing right now. They're using that war as an excuse to not get, you know, not to ship over to the United States and make prices go higher. That's what they're trying to do. And then they're getting all the countries, sucking in all the countries to make them pay more of a price when it comes to shipping cost. So, keep that in mind. MTBK says takes way longer to ship, but fuel cost goes down as well. Right now, with all the governments that are all around the world trying to get rid of fossil fuels, that's going to make the price go up even higher. They're trying to make every country's trying to make all these businesses go electric. All electric. But they're realizing they can't do it right now because they don't have the technology to do it. Think about it. My question is, Max says, my question is, if it's even worth taking the 4080 for $1,000 right now. Truthfully, what if the 5080, the new 5080 comes out at $1,000? What do you think's going to happen there? You're going to look at yourself getting a 4080 for $1,000, and then you look at the 5080 just came out with more performance than a 4090. What if they told you and said, you know, you're kind of stuck with the 4080? I think you'd be kicking yourself more in the butt instead of waiting that one day. Waiting till tomorrow when they announce, NVIDIA announces the 50 series Blackwell cards. You're best off to wait until tomorrow. Seriously. I mean, you want me to be honest with you? I'm giving you an answer right there. I would wait till tomorrow to see what the 50 series Blackwell graphics cards are going to be like and what kind of price you're looking at. And then weigh your options then. Give yourself a day. Check it out. You never know. No sense of cutting yourself off at the neck when you can get better performance for that same price. You see what I'm saying? So don't cut yourself off at the neck. Always when they get ready to launch something, and you get closer to that time and you hear everybody, I want to buy now, I want to buy now. Wait until they do the launch to find out if it's going to be a better deal. Save your money. That's what I'm doing. I'm not buying no graphics cards. I buy all my graphics cards. These graphics cards here are all bought by me. These are all mine. I bought them. These companies didn't buy this. AMD didn't buy this for me, and NVIDIA didn't buy this for me. I bought this. That's out of my pocket. My time, my pocket. So, let's move on and read some more notes. Then, if I had to buy, MTBK says, then if I had to buy a GPU, a 5060 Ti, would be the smallest new Blackwell chip. Normal 5060 is rumored to be Ada Lovelace. I did hear that too. I do agree with that. But that's rumored. You don't know. Maybe they're just saying that. The only way you'll know for sure is when the 5060 comes out and you look at, they'll give you a schematic of the PCB, and it'll show what die is going to be on there. So there are some sites that post those. So I would wait to see if that's going to happen or not. But that's just rumors, though. You know, it's not the actual thing. Still possibly equal to the 4070, 4070 Ti. Yep, pretty much. My man. Yep. MTBK says, I'd get a 4060 Ti and wait for the next generation, depending on how demanding your games are, of course. Why would I spend $800 on a 4070 Ti, knowing that it's a discontinued graphics card, and the price is going up? See, once they're sold out, whoever's selling it then on a 4070 Ti, the price is going up higher than what the actual MSRP is. So you're looking at maybe a $300, $400 jump. Look what they did with the 4090. When all of a sudden Nvidia couldn't sell to China. Guess what happened? $2,500 for a 4090. Instant jump. So this is what you got to take in consideration. It's going to be an instant jump on price, but do you think the performance jumps up because the price does? No. You lose performance by the higher the price compared to its MSRP. Keep that in mind. Damn, I wanted to have a 4080, 12 gigabytes so bad. Maybe I get lucky next time. Why not get an 80 class card at decent price? The folks complaining weren't possible customers anyway. Well, you know, I'm going to tell you, I did not get an 80 class. I did not get a 90 class. Because I got a 70 class. They made more GPUs out of the 70 class than they did the 80 and 90 class. Even more than the 60 class. So think about why they did that. What was special about that? You know what's special about the 4070? It comes with an 8-pin plug. It doesn't come with that 12-volt high-power connector. It comes with an 8-pin power plug. The 4070 is the only GPU in its class that came with an 8-pin connector. The rest of the 40 series came with the 12-volt high-power connector. What makes the 4070 a collector's is because of what Nvidia did. Now, when it comes to the 50 series, they said all the GPUs are going to have the 12-volt high power. But what's going to blow your mind is, what if they start putting two 12-volt high power pins, plugs, on the 5090, the 5080? Your GPU is only handling one high-powered plug. Your PSU is only handling one 12-volt high-power connector. How is your GPU going to handle two? When you only have enough slots to plug in three wires, three 8-pin plugs from your PSU to your GPU. And usually the 4090 came with 3 plugins that you have to plug in 3 8-pins to that 12-volt high-power connector. How is your PSU going to handle 6 slots? And you need it rated at least 800 watts. 800 watts for the 5090. I don't know about you guys, but that doesn't look like a graphics card I'm going to be buying anytime soon. That looks like it's going to be like you need a 2,000 watt power supply. I mean, be honest with you. That's going to have at least 8 pin connectors. Or it has two 12-volt high-power connections on it. I mean, you're looking at a $350 PSU, the power supply, and a bigger case just to hold the power supply. Come on, man. I've been thinking about this, and this has been on my mind for a little bit about the Blackwell 50 series. So I get a 4060 Ti, wait until the next generation, depending on, of course, we already talked about that. Damn, I wanted to get a 4080 12 gigabyte so bad, maybe I get lucky next time. Well, you know, I just really want you guys to think about this before you go and buy a 5090 or a 5080. Because it seems like it's going to come back down, and it's going to come back down. You're going to go to a 5070. And that's not coming out till middle of 2025. You're not going to see it until Q3 of 2025 on the 5070. So you're looking towards September of next year, maybe October, for a 5070. But that's your decision if you want what you want to buy. I'm not going to tell you what to buy. I can tell you myself, I'm saving my money for the 5070. That's where I feel that it's going to be this time, because the 40 series was software performance. Understand this. The 40 series is software performance this generation. Next generation should be hardware performance. So combined with the software performance and more hardware performance, you should get a lot more FPS. You should get a hell of a lot more FPS. It should be golden at that point. Don't matter if you're running a 5090, 5080, 5070, or a 5060. The hardware performance alone on the next generation is going to be enough to get you the FPS you need and the whole 900 yards. What if they come out with DLSS 4 for the 50 Blackwell series? I heard something in the pipe about that. DLSS 4.1 or 4.2, something like that. I don't know. But I heard something that's in the pipe about this. So, MTBK says, are there rising countries like India or Iran that will do GPUs as well? That would be fun in the case AMD and Intel frigs up and NVIDIA will be impossible to buy. Well, you know, I did hear too that the 50 series NVIDIA was going to be made by Intel. I did hear something about that. I don't know if that's going to be true or not, because that was a leak. That was like a while back. That they said that the NVIDIA was going to put the 50 series to Intel and let them decide. So, Pseudoscientist says if the 5090 is thin, they found a way to lower temperatures. True. That's if they keep it at 200 watts. Keeps it at a 62C. I hit my 4070 at 200 watts, 208 watts. Sometimes it'll push over to 208. But it stays at 62C. It doesn't get, if I ran it for 24 hours solid, I would say it would hit the max at about 68C. So, and that's a 2-slot card with 2 fans. So they would have to keep the watts down below 200 watts in order for that to happen, I think. 5090 and 5080 laptop GPUs are said to have the same heat resistance, suggesting it's the same chip they use for those. I don't think, see, this is a misconception about that. Okay, well, not so much a misconception. This is where everybody gets it on the back end. Laptop processors only go into GPUs, discrete GPUs, if they put an M after the name. That means it's mobile, a mobile chip. I doubt NVIDIA is going to be so cheap like that to put a mobile chip in their Blackwell series. But you never know. You never know. If they're trying to save a buck, yeah, I can see that happening. So, but if they're not and they're trying to not scam the customer, yeah, I can see them going full-fledged. Because you got to understand, the way laptop processors run is always going to be, and no matter what anybody says to me, it's still the same because I've tested this 1,000 times. Laptop processors are only going to run 1/2 of a regular desktop GPU. They're never going to run full bore 100% like a desktop GPU or CPU in that fashion. Because the amount of heat that a desktop puts out is a lot higher than a laptop. So keep that in mind. So, if they found a way to lower temperatures on a 5090, then that would be golden. But something tells me that they're going to have the same problem again. And I want you guys to hear me when I say this. Something tells me they're going to have the same problem again that they had with the 4090. And it's going to be the same problem on the 5090 and maybe the 5080. Because the amount of power draw that those two are going to be drawing when it comes to, your gameplay. Everybody in this world is going to get a 5090, 5080. They're going to pump it up so high at 4K just to hit 200 FPS, be the first one to hit 200 FPS on 4K. Or hit 500 FPS on 4K. Everybody's going to be trying for that goal just to take and post a video that says, look, I just hit 500 FPS at 4K on this graphics card. Just to hit that golden spot. And I'm right about this. I hit 200 FPS all day long on my 4070. I don't have a problem with it. I don't see why, I never, and I'm going to have to get a 4K monitor sooner or later to test this at 4K to see what it does. So, yeah. I know you guys are going to say, when are you going to get a 4K monitor? We've been waiting for 2 years to get a 4K monitor. Look, from 1080p to 4K or whatever it is, long as I can see to play the game and it ain't blurry and it looks good to me, that's what matters. Just like when you play your game and you look at it how you look at it. I look at it how I look at it. I'm used to the CRT monitors going back into the 80s. Try to play games off of those CRT monitors. I'm going to tell you, those pictures look better than your new 4K monitors. I hate to tell you that. I mean, some people say to me, well, a CRT monitor better than a 4K? Yes. Because it doesn't flicker like, doesn't cause that eye infliction on you. Those CRT monitors are gems when it comes to playing games, watching movies, and everything else. I could play a game and watch movies all day long on a CRT monitor and never have any issues. Never. So, My favorite games, FPS limit is 120, useless. I unlock it via console. Look, when I play MTBK, you know the one I play. Final Fantasy. I unlock it all the way. It's got a 60 FPS lock, and you can turn that off and play it full bore. I play that full bore, and I'm still hitting over 200 FPS, so I'm not worried. As long as, and this has always been the rule of thumb ever since the 80s, the late 80s to the early 90s. If you're making over 60 FPS on a game, you have less problems and it's working really good. And it's running at 100%. Back then, in the 90s, not too many people were worried about this freaking bottleneck syndrome. You hear everybody talking about, oh, bottleneck. You're going to be surprised when I tell you this. There ain't no such thing as a freaking bottleneck. That's made up. That is made up. Because the way they did things years ago is they balanced the CPU to the GPU, and you get a total output with your total FPS. Cut and dried. There's no, and I know y'all are going to argue with me about that and say, yes, there is such thing as bottlenecking and this and that and this and that. No, these are people that are showing you these little graphs with these little things with this. Look, if your 1% lows is getting between 40 and 60 FPS, your 1% lows, hear my lips, you got nothing to worry about. Why worry? I know everybody's going to say, I've heard this 1,000 times from many people. And then when I have to go in there and prove them wrong and everything else, then they're like, oh, I didn't know that. I always hear that. I always hear that word, I didn't know that. And the one word that they don't want to hear is the word that's called balance. When you balance your CPU with your GPU, you get total output with less heat, more performance. I don't know how many times I got to tell everybody this. Don't beat up your CPU to make your GPU work harder. Make your CPU work less harder and make your GPU work on its own. It will run just fine on its own. It's already been benched on for any game that you play. It's already set at its pace. The game builders have already set your GPU at its pace. That's why they got that AI auto on there now, because it automatically maximizes your GPU to the game. That's why you don't really have to go in there and mess with anything anymore, because it's automatically set on AI. I don't know if y'all knew that, but that's something I caught on to about a month ago. And that's the reason why I don't go into the display thing. I just let it do its thing. And I play my game just fine as it is. So these are things that people don't know. These are things that people don't know when they go in. And you got a lot of people that don't know how to set their graphics, their display graphics in a game. This is the reason why game developers put an auto AI in there to automatically maximize your GPU to the game. So you don't have to touch anything. If you want a little extra, then you could either put in RDNA, FSR 3, or you can put in DLSS 3, or whatever. Put in a little bit extra rasterization, or put in a little bit extra ray tracing. That's up to you. If you want more out of the game. But your settings for the game is already set automatically by an AI program that automatically maximizes your GPU to the game. So, let's see. MTBK says, if I play some esport title, I set it back to 1080p low no matter what AI says. So, but you do see the point, right? You do see what I'm saying. When you go into the display settings, it's automatically maximized for your GPU. You don't have to do anything. If you want to set it back to 1080p, that's up to you. Those are the adjustments you make. All the program does is it adjusts the maximum performance to your graphics card. And for what it sees for your graphics card, it sees your CPU and everything else as well. It sees how much RAM and everything else you got as well. It sees everything. So it just maximizes it to the amount of performance that your computer is putting out. So, but a lot of people get it kind of wrong now these days, and I've seen it many of times. I would go and I would watch, I would talk to a couple people. They would say, oh my God, the screen is tearing. Why? Did you go in, and this is the question I always ask, did you go in and adjust anything in the display settings? Yeah, that's what I always hear. I said, well, you just answered your own question. Simple said and put. If you go in and mess with the settings, and it's not optimized for what you have now, which it's already optimized, because through the AI programming in the display settings, it's auto optimized for performance. You don't have to mess with anything. I don't even turn on ray tracing anymore when I play my games. Believe that. And I have ray tracing. Hardcore ray tracing. But I don't need to turn it on because I get great enough FPS as it is. I don't get screen tearing. I don't get anything else. It plays the games perfectly for me. So, VRAM usage 650 megabytes, but 5 watt power consumption only. Yeah, but remember too, man, you're on, if you're running a laptop, it's different than a desktop. Because when I'm playing a game, I'm hitting 200 watts at 200 to 220 FPS. So it's like for every watt, I'm getting 1 FPS. If that makes sense or not. But it keeps the GPU at 62C, and it keeps my processor, the CPU processor, below 65C. So I can't complain. I'm going to say it. Undervolting your CPU and just let your GPU run stock is the best way to go. I've been doing it I've been undervolted on my processors for over a year. I'd say about almost 2 years. So what I learned from undervolting my processors was that it kept the temperature down. I can run any cooler I want on my CPU. It can be 120 mil cooler. It will still keep it at a certain degree of temperature. I run a 240 mil cooler, AIO water cooler, and it still keeps it at 62C, even though that the processor I have says I should have a 280 mil cooler, but I undervolt. Causes the heat and consumption to stay down. MTBK, you know I showed you that chart that I did on OCCT that showed I was only consuming, 71 watts? If you got a power-hungry CPU, you can undervolt your hungry power CPU and push it down to a certain amount of wattage. If you want to keep it down at about 80 to 90 watts, even though you know it can do 100 to 240 so odd watts, but it gets too hot, then keep it down between about 80 and 90 Celsius, or no, not 80, 90 Celsius. Between about 60 and 70 Celsius, maximum 80. Anything above that, if you go above 90 C, you're going to thermal throttle above 90 C. So that's 180 degrees Fahrenheit. If your CPU processor hits 200 degrees Fahrenheit, you're degrading your processor. If it hits 180 degrees Fahrenheit, 180, you're degrading your processor. If you don't keep it down below 160 degrees Fahrenheit, which is 70 C, then you're going to be degrading your processor. Means you'll go from having a 10-year processor down to a 2-year processor. I know people that have taken their processor, done that, right? Pushed it to the max. Within the matter of 1 year time, they have degraded the processor enough within the first year, because they're pushing it at its maximum amount of power within that year. I know I said 2 years, but that was just an estimate. But I know people that pushed it hard for a year. That processor degraded so fast, it was done. It was done. Yeah, I was just giving an estimate, MTBK. That was just an estimate off of my head. I didn't go on the internet looking for the actual temperatures. But I can tell you, at that degree of temperature is not good. Not good at all. Right now, my processor is running at 49C. Right now, it's running at 49C. That's because I got OBS open and I'm live streaming at the same time. Usually it sits at 36 Celsius. So, usually. Pseudoscientist says, I never but will undervolt to save silicon longevity. That's the only reason I do it. I expect to at least get 10 years out of my processors. At least 10 years. I have a processor right here. I always show this. This right here is an Intel. 2nd gen. How old do you think this is? And this still runs. How old do you think this processor is? 2nd gen. I know you guys are going to come up with the answer of that. But that's a 2nd gen processor. That's an i5 2400. That's an Intel 2nd gen. And it still runs. It still works. It runs in my Dell Optiplex 980, no problem. So, let's see. MTBK says, play the game and check my storage at the same time. Max CPU power, saw it 70 watts, didn't check for temperatures. Okay, well, you should be checking your SSD drive and seeing how much you're using of your SSD drive to see if you have enough bandwidth on your SSD drive to lower the amount of usage. Because the more bandwidth you got, the faster it runs, the less amount of percentage you'll use. So if you want to yield your percentage lower, then what you need to do is to make sure you got enough speed on your SSD and your system RAM. That will lower your speed. I mean your usage, but give you more speed. I know that seems crazy, but it's not. I've done it before on this PC I got right here that I'm streaming now. I've already done it. It's still running at a higher speed than than 3 months ago, because I decided to actually turn up the system RAM 200 megahertz higher. So, let's see. MTBK says the only wear that is supposed to happen like 10 to 30 years is some electro migration. Oh, you mean a high-powered magnet next to your PC will kill your PC kind of thing? Yeah. A high-powered magnet will do it. But if you don't use a mechanical drive, then there's no low power magnetivity, or you know what I mean. So, but anyway, Pseudoscientist says I'm running 1066 gigabytes, so like to 8 years out of next PC also will buy again. So if C-Trade ends, I have a backup sooner, I know, but good idea. Huh. I'm going to be honest with you about this, man. And I'm going to tell you. The way it works is NVIDIA discontinued the 10 series, the GTX 10 series. That includes the 1060. That means when they discontinue making that product, a year or two after that, they discontinue the driver software for that graphics card. So once they discontinue the driver series for that, that's when you need to worry about if you want to move up in the world when it comes to your graphics cards. You can hold on to your graphics card until they stop upgrading the driver software on that graphics card. As long as you get good FPS and you play your games well, I really wouldn't worry about it. So, that's just my honest opinion. I hear 1060s, 1070s doing just as good as 3060s, 3070s. So that's something you got to think about too. I know some people getting 20 series graphics cards. They're just going from the 10 series to the 20 series, going from GTX to RTX. They're going to save themselves a couple $100 doing it. You know, if you can get a 2080 Ti or something like that, something close to the 2080 series, it's going to have a lot more RAM, and also too it's an RTX series, so it's going to get all the extra when it comes to the RTX family, which is the 20 series, 30 series, and 40 series, and now the 50 series. So it's going to get all the benefits, not 100% of the benefits, but the 20 series does get a lot of benefits. You'll get like DLSS 2. And from what I'm hearing, and if Microsoft goes through with what they're saying about frame gen being on all cards in all games, no matter what graphics card you got, that's a game changer. So even your 10 series, your 20 series, and your 30 series are going to run just as good as your 40 series. And that's what they're saying. And now they got another new program coming out for the graphics cards that gives it an FPS boost. I think Daniel Owens was talking about that on his video earlier today. I think he was talking about that. So the scientist says we are close to the end at gaming 4K. Is 8K really needed? Truthfully, no. Is 8K really needed? No. Is your eye going to see every bit of that 8K? No. Our eyes are just now barely focusing with 4K. Compared to 8K, I could tell you I did a test on my 1080p monitor and pushed it all the way up to a 4K game setting to do a test on what was it, MSI Combustor, and did it at an 8K setting. Because you can manipulate your screen to go all the way up to an 8K setting, which I did mine. It's just, it pushes the pixels smaller. It just makes the pixels more tight, more dense. You know, it really, and pushing it up that high kind of made it a little bit blurry on my screen. The words and stuff became a little bit blurry on my screen. I know it's only 1080p, but it was just a test I was running at 8K to see if it really was good or bad. So if it pushes the pixels too close together, it's going to cause blurriness. And you're going to see it. You have a lot of problems with that. So yeah, like I told you, I mean, your eye's only going to go up to 4K. Pushing it beyond 4K, then you better be wearing VR glasses if you want to push it beyond 4K in order for the eye to see everything and you get sick at the same time wearing VR. I wore VR. I'll be honest with you, I got sick. It made me sick. I'd never do that again. It made me feel like I was on a roller coaster ride. A really good one, that has the nice swirls and everything else, and It just totally rips your stomach just right out of the socket. But you're sitting in your chair and watching all that. And it does the same thing. So, oh my God. Get my point? Whew. I ain't never doing that again. And don't y'all ever ask me to do that. I ain't doing that. No. I'll tell you what I was doing that made me do all that. Was I was on a boat and a big tsunami wave came in. Oh, that made me really bad right there. That was on a full 360 motion on YouTube. They have those 360 panoramic viewers, and you can do that with your VR. Don't do it. Oh no. Sad, but it was just wow. It was just too intense for me. No need to worry about VR. You're not a VTuber. You're right. I'm not. I can't. One of these days, I might do virtual reality and figure a way to do it here with you guys on YouTube and connect you in for what I see and everything else into the glasses and take you along for that spin and see what I see. I heard you can do it, but it'll take me a little time to figure it out. We'll work on it. Not guaranteeing I'm going to do it, but we'll work on it. So, guys, what do you think about the 5090? Do you think it's going to be a buy or a bust? Do you think it's going to be a good buy or it's going to be a bust? Just like with the 5080. The 5080 they're going to have come out. Is it going to be a good buy or is it going to be a bust? Think about the cause and effects that's going to be happening with this. One, if rumors are right, then the 5090 is going to be a cut down version of actually what it's supposed to be. That's a no-no. You never do that and then charge you $100 more than the 4090. That's a no-no. That's a big turnoff for me right there. For me, that's a big turnoff when they do something dumb like that. I don't know about you, but to me, that's a dumb thing. Now, the 5080 is supposed to be designed and set for China, but able to be sold around the world. So that means whatever China gets, the United States gets, that means Germany and wherever else. The whole world gets the same graphics card of the 5080. The 5090, the 5080, same graphics card. We all get the same. But it seems NVIDIA keeps basing their product SKU for China. I myself think that is really disgraceful. Pseudoscientist says 5080 will be good, costs too much. Everyone complains and still sells out. Do you know why it sells out? Do you know how many scalpers buy up the first 10,000 cards? You know why Amazon sells out fast? They only put out between 7 and 10,000. Same with Newegg. They only put out between 7 and 10,000. Micro Center, each one of them only put out, you might be able to get your hands on 100 a batch. So there's not that many out there for everybody to think that they're selling a lot more than you think. No, they're selling a lot less than you think. And they're saving a lot more money by not making them. but making you pay more of a high price for the ones that they do make. That's the reason why they're looking good on their money charts, is because of that. They did it the last 2 generations. Y'all didn't see it, but they did it the last 2 generations. Even AMD did it on the 7000 series. When you think that you were buying a cheap graphics card from AMD, they were raising the prices on their other graphics card to meet the cost of that graphics card. So just to make Nvidia look bad. I have charts to prove that. So it's kind of a cat and mouse game, you have to understand. It's kind of a cat and mouse game. And the cat and mouse game is that, and see, you got to remember, AMD CEO and Nvidia CEO are family. That rumor's been spread out and confirmed that those two are cousins competing in 2 different companies. Think about it. They're family. They're competing against each other. Think about it. You think AMD's crazy about, giving up money right now? They can't afford to give away the house. At this point, they can't, because the amount of money they invested in AI technology kind of strapped them a little bit harder than they thought. This is why now, instead of everybody running to TSMC, they're going to be running to Intel. They're going to be running right to Intel, saying, hey, since you can make everything in-house, why don't you start making my GPUs in-house? Because all the supplies and stuff, mainly all the supplies that Intel uses, either comes from Japan, Taiwan, rarely China, and Africa. Mainly where they're getting all their components now. Because they're making it all in-house. And also, too, they're going to be coming out in the future. It's already being talked about. A new graphene silicon to make CPUs with that's going to be a lot cheaper. A graphene silicon that's a lot cheaper than what it is now. And that graphene silicon, you don't need China for the silicon anymore. So that totally cuts them out of the game. Especially the amount of money that they got to spend to get their product from China to whatever country. Because the amount of tariffs that China has on their products is what's costing us more and more on our GPUs. What doesn't make sense is the FTC in the United States puts a restriction on Nvidia saying you only can sell certain amount of cards that have a certain amount of horsepower. When the cards are being produced in China, how are they going to put a restriction on China when they're being built in China? Think about that and tell me what you think about that. Does that sound right to you? It doesn't sound right to me. How can you ban a country that produces your own product? Can you beat that? I can't fathom that. Pseudoscientist says the 5090 will be targeted to your name so they can say none sent to China. The only way they can say it wasn't made in China is if they put a sticker on it that says made in the USA. Really? But here's the good news. Here's the good news for you guys. Since they're having so much hard time with China building the product, TSMC is making a company over here because we have the same amount of silicon rights that China has. So we're going to start opening up the good trades of our silicon and start making GPUs over here in the US. And you know how they're made in the United States. It's going to be made with good quality stuff. Either the parts from Taiwan or Japan. And it's not going to be coming from China anymore. So, this is what I'm waiting for. Oh, the 5090 will be tagged to your name. Not my name. I'll just be honest with you. Not my name. Not even NVIDIA's name, because something tells me that the world's about to change, and I hate to tell you guys this. The reason why it's going to change is because everybody's tired of getting screwed when it comes to computer parts. Everybody is tired of being screwed. We're all tired. I know you're tired. We're all tired of getting third rated silicon. That's supposed to be first grade silicon. We're getting third grade silicon in all our GPUs. This is like, the crappiest of crap can be. And this is the reason why the silicon and the GPUs are not lasting as long as they used to when back in the 90s and the 2000s. Because they made it better on silicon than they do in 2024. I don't know if you guys know that. All the little cutbacks and everything that they're making the silicon so weak that it can't handle the heat. Now, if I think about it, give me. I can take this right here, and run this 24/7, full bore. I already tested this. I've already did this for 2 years, and this still will run like its first day. And this is a second gen processor. And the age on that processor, oh my god, let's find out the age. Let me just pull something up here. We'll find out the age. We'll do the We'll find out the age. I'll just make it easy. Okay, it's Sandy Bridge socket 1155. 2011, January 9th. So, how old is it now? So, that's pretty old, man. When it comes to a processor, I think. It's pretty old, I would think. So you figure it's at the beginning of January of 2011, right? So 13 years old? 13-year-old processor. And you know what? I can still push it up to about 80 FPS. And that's with and this is going to blow your mind. And that's with an RTX 4070. I can keep it at a steady 80 FPS with an RTX 4070. And that's second gen. And you know, that's DDR3. That processor is based on DDR3. I know because I tested it already. And if you didn't see that video, then you missed a good one. Because you didn't watch all the videos. So. You guys have any more questions or concerns? Because guess what? 4 o'clock, my time, tomorrow morning, I'm going to be up early to get on stream 15 minutes early before it starts. Hopefully y'all will be up with me before then, if you can. So, you guys got any more questions or concerns or anything? Tomorrow's the big day. Tomorrow's going to be a good day. This is going to be the day that we see what Nvidia is holding in their hand as cards, and we get to see AMD as well. Oh, cool, machine. No doubt. It is 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time right now, if you're wondering. This will be fun. No more questions over here right now, sir. Thank you for the live stream. You're most welcome. You're most welcome. Yep, you know it's time. I gave it 2 hours of my best for y'all. Hopefully you all will be here tomorrow morning, 4 o'clock a.m. I'll be on stream about hopefully 3:45 a.m. So I want to see what Nvidia has cooking. I really do. I want to see if they're going to pull a rabbit trick with the 5080. I want to see if they're going to give us the full lineup of the next generation. I want to see also too AMD CPUs. I want to see if they're going to come out with the 800 series motherboard. I want to see if they're going to be coming out with the 9000. Oh, I got a surprise for you guys. Guess what? I just heard this on the wire. Just got this on the wire today. AM4 series is not dead as of yet. AM4 series. Zen 3 is not dead as of yet. Guess what's going to be coming out? Y'all want to guess this? Y'all want to really guess this? Guess what's going to be coming out? Oh, MTBK. Oh, yo. Yeah, you're right. 5900 XT and a 5800 XT. Two more CPUs for the lineup. 8-core 16 thread and a 16-core 32 thread. 5800 XT and a 5900 XT. Supposed to have, what do they say, boost clock of 4.8 gigahertz on both. Hopefully it has more cache and stuff like that too, which I'm hoping for. So, but that's good news for everybody. If you're still on the AM4 platform, do understand they do got something coming out. For the AM4 platform is not dead as of yet. They're not going to kill it off. Just the end of life was 2022. They revitalized it in 2023. So it's been going since 2023, revitalized, and even today in 2024, it's still alive. So believe it or not, it's been a revitalized AM4 platform. So don't think it's dead just of yet. And you know the reason why? I'm going to ask you all this one question. Do you know the reason why the AM4 series is still alive? And see if you all know the answer to this. I'm waiting to see if you guys are going to answer this question. I'm just going to tell you. No, that's not it at all. I'm going to tell you. If you've been watching Intel, what Intel's been doing on the motherboards, if you look very carefully, they have a DDR4 motherboard that will run 14th gen Intel processor. 14th gen on DDR4. That's something everybody missed. Don't believe me? Go have a look. You can run a 14th gen processor on DDR4. AMD got pissed off about it. And they said, look, we're going to bring back AM4 and we're going to shove in more to make it a better platform. Even yet, better yet, because it's already been tested, proven to be a reliable platform for AMD. AM4 platform is a reliable platform for AMD. Why would they kill it? They're making it better now is because what Intel did with their DDR4 series. There's your answer. When I heard that, I was like, no way. I went to investigate. Found out that I see a couple motherboards that can run DDR4 at 14th gen. I think one was ASRock and the other one was Gigabyte. I could be wrong. There could be more out there now. Everybody's got their skin in the game with this. Because they all know that you can run them motherboards up to 4400 megahertz overclocked. So if that's the case, then you should be able to do a 14 gen processor on it. So I just wanted to bring that up, guys. If you're looking at a lower cost to the 14th gen, that was a lower cost for the 14th gen. For people that wanted to get a 14100, an i3 14100 to run on like a 700 series motherboard for DDR4, there you go. And it's possible. Just to let you know. Keep that thought in mind, guys. I'm going to go ahead and get out of here. We did our 2 hours. I just wanted to pick your mind really quick about it. So that way I'd just see what you guys knew about it and everything. But if you've watched this whole live stream and you haven't subscribed yet, why haven't you? Good question. Why haven't you subscribed? Why haven't you told your friends to come down here and party with us? Because we're going to have a great old time coming up by tomorrow and the next couple days. So if you subscribe, you'll get notices about all the live feeds that's going to be coming up for next week because of Computex. So make sure that you stick around for that. And pseudoscientists, you have a great evening too. And everybody else, you have a great evening too. So make sure you subscribe, put a positive like on this live stream. And also, too, make sure that you got your notifications on so you know when I post the next video, either live stream or a regular video or a short video or any kind of video. Make sure y'all are watching it. Make sure you pass the word around. Tell your friends to come on down. We're getting close to 500. We're trying to get to 500 subscribers, so please help us out and get us to 500. So y'all have a fine evening, a great evening, and be safe. And we will see you. We'll see you tomorrow morning at 4 a.m.